In the south of County Tipperary, there's a town called Cahill that has a market. And a young man would visit this market every single day of the week to sell his wares. His name was Lusmore. He was famous for two things: his fast fingers, very skilled fingers, and a huge hump on his back. Now the young kids would laugh at him for the hump, and the old people would spit to bless themselves. Oh, good you. Oh, the gore. They all thought he was cursed, or he was bewitched, or he was a witch, or something. And it kind of wore down on poor Lusmore. Every single day he'd make lovely baskets and hats and little thingy things for women or whatever they have, dolls for children. And he'd sell them, and he'd do his best. But every day was the same. Ha! Hump! Or till he had pools of TB everywhere. So one evening, on his way home, which was in the south of the Galtee Mountains, a ways away, but not too far, Lusmore walked slower than normal because he was just down. And at a certain spot, where there's a certain hill, he had to take a wee rest. And he leaned against the wee hill and he looked up at the stars, and he knew he wasn't getting home. And he just rested and wished everything was easier. And then...
Delunamart, 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 Delunamart.
It's a lovely tune. He'd never heard it before. It's just Monday and Tuesday said again and again in Irish. But it was lovely.
Delunamart, Delunamart, Delunamart.
Agus de Cerdine.
Delunamart, Delunamart, Delunamart.
Agus de Cerdine.
Delunamart, Delunamart, Delunamart.
Agus de Cerdine. All he did was add the word Wednesday. But it suited. It was nice. It had a rhythm to it. And then a great gust of wind popped up from nowhere, wrapped around him and dragged him into the hill. When his eyes adjusted to the dark, he realised it wasn't all that dark. There were candles and stuff. And a feck load of little people. You see, the She had taken him in. They took him in because they liked his little addition to their tune. They'd been singing the same tune for thousands of years and never thought to add the word Wednesday. He was tickled pink, so he kept singing it, and they all loved it, and it went great. And, as a thank you, they nudged the hump off his back. Literally, they just kept pushing until it fell onto the floor. That was a surprising thing. Then they all started dancing, and eventually Lusmore fell asleep, and when he woke up, he was outside the hill, and he thought, it was a dream. And then he stood up and realised how tall he was, because he had no hump in his back anymore. So he went home, delighted with life. Couldn't wait to get back to the market, basically so he could look at the children and laugh at them. And when the old people would go, and then they'd have wee strokes or something, which was great, and they deserved it. One day, an old woman, so we'll call her a biddy, arrived up to the market, asking for the miracle man of Cahill. Lusmore had no idea who the hell this was. But the woman described how there was some guy who had the ability to knock humps off people's back. I said, oh, that's me. I don't have the power though. That was the She. The faeries did that, not me. And the old biddy says, well, I have a grandson. Sure, he's a hump on his back. It's ridiculously big. Something has to be done about it. And if it's the faeries, is it like I could go there and something? So Lusmore told her the story, and then he told her where to go. And the biddy thanked Lusmore and bought a corn dolly or something and headed back out of town to a cart where her daughter and her grandson were waiting. You see, the grandson with the hump, Jack Madden, was an arse of a man. He didn't like having to walk around. He had to carry a hump, you see. He didn't like having to work because he had a hump, you see. So everyone had a hump with him. Except for some reason his mother and his grandmother, who carted him about everywhere. So the grandmother told him the story, And then the two women hefted the cart with a lump on the back, and they went off to the hill halfway between Cahir and the Galtee Mountains. When they got there, they knew they were in the right spot. There's no hum about such places. So they put down the cart, they lifted the lump out, put him on the ground, rolled him, or however you move those people, until he was beside the place. And then just said, wait for the music.
The Lusmore, the Lusmore, the Lusmore dog is arcading.
Okay. Now, Jack was a greedy guy. He decided that he wasn't going to add a word to the song and make it better. He was going to add 2 words to the song, make it much better, and get a free suit out of it. He wanted bling and the hump gone. So he waited, and he listened one more time.
The Lusmore, the Lusmore, the Lusmore dog is
As the darn and the hen, yeah. He added Thursday and Friday to the song. It bollocks the song. The fairies were not happy. A door opened in the side of the hill, and a dozen or more little men with rippling muscles, because God knows what else they're doing down there in the mountain, popped out of the place, grabbed Jack, and roughly dragged him back in and closed the doors before his grandmother and mother could do anything about it. Inside, they beat him. Oh boy, they beat him so badly it rhymed. Better than he had with his stupid song. And when they were done beating him, they could hear him mutter, "For me hump, and I wanted a nice suit." And they said, "We'll give you a fucking suit, boy, and a hump." For some reason, we're not asking questions, they're fairies, they kept Lusmore's hump. Maybe it was like a slide for their babies, I don't know. But they added it onto Jack's back and hammered it in, so it was going nowhere. And then they kicked the lump, double lump, out the door, back out to the middle of nowhere, where his grandmother and mother found him. And they were horrified, because now he was as big as the hill he'd just been in. And he was whining and bawling, "Oh my God, I did something wrong. Sure, I did something bad. Is it bigger?" And they're like, yeah. And then they realized they're the ones who have to wheel him home, and they said, "You know what? You can walk." So he walked. They came from Waterford, which is a distance away, so it took a while to get back to Waterford. And as he travelled, Jack thought about it. Yeah, maybe he'd been a bit greedy, and maybe he'd been a bit too harsh, and he expected a bit much, and why did he think he deserved it? And then he died. The Lusmore, the Lusmore, the Lusmore, the Lusmore.